Good Thursday morning. It is August 22nd, 2024, and it's the first PNW Today program of the new academic year. My name is Cale Wilk, and I serve as Communications Specialist in the Office of Marketing Communications at the university. And for today's show, like I said, it's the first show that we're having of the academic year, and what a great way to go ahead and kick it off by having a couple of our senior leadership team members here in the studio to be able to talk about what we have to look forward to in the new year, as well as the higher education landscape. So joining me in the studio, just going down the line here, we got Marie Mora, who is our Provost and Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, who just joined us this summer. We're so happy to have her. So Marie, thank you so much for being here in the studio this morning.
All right, thank you very much. Excited to be here.
And we have Chancellor Chris Holford, very story person for the university, biologist by by academic background, and administrator in different levels at the university too. And of course, we're always happy to have you in the studio to join us as well to be able to share more.
Thank you, Cale. I've been really looking forward to today's show. It's an exciting year for PNW. There's a lot going on at the university. We're in a great position. I had the opportunity yesterday to be on our Westville campus for the rally day. We had literally hundreds of people coming into the Dworkin Center. So there was a great deal of excitement. That same event is going to take place on our Hammond campus today. Couldn't be happier to be in this position at this university at this time.
Absolutely. I also do just want to give a brief thank you and shout out to Adriana in the studio there. She is a third-year communication and creative arts student at Purdue Northwest. Way to go, Adriana. Keep up the good work and good luck in your new academic year. So let me just go ahead and run down a few calendar items of things that are coming up in the near future at the university, just so that our listeners are aware. So coming up, September is going to be just right around the corner, of course, and that means homecoming celebrations are going to be on the docket. So if you want to come out and experience some of PNW's favorite homecoming traditions, including Homecoming Sports Fest, you can find out some more information at pnw.edu/homecoming, or you can also go to pnwathletics.com to find out more about Homecoming Sports Fest. And of course, for news about athletics, our fall sports seasons are going to be getting underway, or they are already underway in a few of our different sports. So if you want to come out and support the Pride, go ahead and check out some of the schedules and the ticket packages at pnwathletics.com. And also, not too far behind that, also starting up in September, it's going to be the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. So we have events that are available online for all of those celebrations too. pnw.edu/HHM, short for Hispanic Heritage Month. That's where you can go and find out more information for what we have to look forward to for that celebration that's going to be occurring from about mid-September through mid-October. So I just wanted to just briefly shout those out. And if there's anybody that is just tuning in, again, for our first show of the academic year, we have our Provost and Chancellor at PNW joining us. And I do want to emphasize that what's really great about having even just two of our senior leadership members here is that they have such a wealth of information and institutional knowledge to be able to share. And it's so great to be able to have even just a little bit of their time to be able to expand on their perspectives about what we have to look forward to at the university this year, as well as the higher education landscape. So I will try my best to sound smart in front of these two PhD holding folks here. So how about just to go ahead and start out? I mean, I know that we probably have a good number of our own internal PNW listeners that are tuned in as well. But how about let's go ahead and start out just down the line here. Marie, you have just joined the university starting this summer, and you have come to us from Metropolitan State University in Denver. So how about tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to be in higher education, and what you're looking forward to for this year?
All right, thank you very much, Kel. I'm very excited to be here as well. And as the Chancellor mentioned, I cannot think of a better place to be at this point in time. It's a very exciting opportunity. So I most recently was at MSU Denver. MSU Denver, like Purdue University Northwest, is a metropolitan university. It serves a lot of students who have Basically an opportunity to go to the university because it happens to be there. A lot of first generation college students, a lot of students who are Pell eligible attend that institution. In addition, MSU Denver as Purdue University Northwest as a Hispanic serving institution, and that's something I find very appealing about coming to to Purdue Northwest, having to do with some of the changing demographics. I've been in higher education for almost 30 years. I'm an economist by training, specifically in labor economics, and so looking at the role of the institution in terms of how we provide workforce development is something that's extremely important to me. And then looking at how the university is taking things to the next level. At the same time, the community is, it just finds, I should say the communities, but essentially looking at how the communities are developing their own identity and looking at taking things to the next level. And for Purdue Northwest to be playing a part in that and having seats at the table is extremely exciting. So this was an opportunity I could not resist. I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to be here at this point in time.
Absolutely. Well, and you and I have had a chance to talk a little bit before the show, and I got to learn a little bit more about your background, some of your previous institutions, your research that you've done. And so, as you mentioned, economics is your background, and you like to say that you're a labor economist. So, can you expand a little bit more about, so what does it mean to be a labor economist, and how does that fit into higher education?
Yeah, actually, it fits very well. Labor econ, we look at both. So you hear about economists talking about supply and demand. So on the labor side, we look at labor supply, which is what we are doing as workers, and so we're willing to supply our labor. And so things like higher education play a role in terms of the opportunities that we have. Different opportunities to get skills and other attributes that will help us secure good jobs. And then on the labor demand side, that's looking at what jobs are available. And so what is it that employers want? One of the great advantages of having a university like Purdue Northwest being embedded in the communities is the fact that we can work with industry partners to find out what it is that they're looking for in their workforce. So we look at, one of the ways I look at roles of institutions like Purdue Northwest has to do with what we can provide to the employers through our academic and also some non-academic programs.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing more of that information. And again, we're very excited to have you at the institution. Big welcome from all of us, and we hope that, I know that we're talking about the welcome rally. Obviously, you had a chance to be out there yesterday as well at our Westville campus, getting to meet with different folks, and you've been making new connections. So looking forward to all the exciting things that are going to be happening in this year. So, Chancellor Holford, tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Well, Cale, I've been at the institution 25 years. I've been in a lot of roles. I have I'm blessed. I have the good fortune to be the chancellor at this time with a lot going on. I am a biologist, as you mentioned, by training, and I think around our campus community, I'm best known for being a lobster biologist in the Midwest. And I think the campus has a lot of fun with that component. Again, to emphasize what Murray was talking about, across the country right now, there's been this questioning of the value of higher education. Most notably, costs of higher education have gone up, and there's a sort of a national questioning on what's the value of those degrees. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of being at our institution is what we talked about, the very applied nature of what we do. We have been partnered with industry in Northwest Indiana for over 20 years. So we built strong relationships with businesses, industries, manufacturing all across Northwest Indiana. And we're very responsive as a university into what their workforce needs are going to be. And that's one of the things I'm immensely proud of. And I think it's one of the things that sets us apart from other universities. We have close ties with businesses and industries. We listen when those companies talk to us about what they need in a potential future workforce. We respond to it. I know we're going to get at some point to the new degree programs that we'll be offering at the university. But I think one of the things that sets us apart is our student body is immediately employable within Northwest Indiana. Mm-hmm. We are responding. We are training students in a way that makes them be able to walk out of the university right into a job here in Northwest Indiana for something that is important to our greater metropolitan community. And so I look at us as a truly serving type of institution. We will use the term metropolitan serving, and I think that's something that's very important to me, especially in a time period where across the country there are fewer college-going students right now. There are fewer graduates from high school. There are fewer students, even more, still fewer students choosing to go to the university because of these national questionings of the value. It is absolutely true that the majority of jobs that are going to emerge over the next 5 to 10 years are going to require advanced certification, some level of training beyond high school education to get into those what are going to be higher paying jobs. And as an institution, we've been carefully monitoring that and working for that. And the results we have are actually fantastic. If we get into anecdotal discussions about where our students are going and the things they're doing right now, that's something, as the chancellor, I'm immensely proud of, and I want our university to stay focused on. We've kept our programs affordable, we've kept them accessible, and meaningful, meaning they're going to translate into jobs in the workforce.
Yeah, and Chancellor, one thing that I also want to bring up as well, in different moments when you've had the chance to speak in front of different audiences at the university, one thing that has always stood out to me and that I appreciate is that you always like to remind us about how much that relationships and relationship building has really been a characteristic of the institution for those that students when they come in, that they have this real sense of welcoming and belonging, whether that's in the classroom or some of the staff that they're working with in some of our different units.
Well, one of the things that's very important for us is when a prospective student walks onto our campus, they see themselves fit into the university. And I know that, and again, anecdotally, I know as students and their parents come onto campus, they feel like we're a place where those students belong, that we're going to provide them a good education that is going to result in something at the end of it. We've invested a lot as a campus community in a redevelopment, a rejuvenation of our campus. And again, if you are somebody in Northwest Indiana that has not been on one of our campuses for years, I encourage you to make an appointment, come out, visit campus, and take a look. We look much different than we did even 5 years ago. We're offering degree programs now all the way through doctoral degrees right here in Northwest Indiana, where a prospective student doesn't have to travel somewhere else in the state or out of state to get these sort of coveted positions or degrees that will lead into to high-paying jobs in the workforce.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, a great reminder, because one of the things that I neglected to say at the top of our show is that the application is open for the new academic year. So please, if you are a prospective student or you're a family member of a potential college student, and you're interested in learning more, visit pnw.edu/admissions. And there's a whole host of resources there about the different programs that PNW has to offer, as well as very valuable information about paying for college and all the support that will be available to you to help enhance your academic experience at the premier metropolitan university of Northwest Indiana. So let's also talk a little bit more about our students. One thing that would be great to talk about is, again, we have our mission to really be student-focused, student-centered, and meet students where they are. So let's talk a little bit about who makes up PNW. How would both of you describe our student demographics, and in particular, our great amount of first-generation students that we have?
So I'll jump right into that one, Cale. As being at the university for over 25 years, we are still predominantly first-generation students. And so a first-generation student is the first in their family to get an education beyond high school. I think we're still about 60% first generation. That number actually has been coming down in years, and it's one of my points of pride as the chancellor, and I've experienced it over my 25 years. Parents of some of these students had such a great experience on our campus and felt like that we did something meaningful, that we had a meaningful influence in their life, and now they are sending their children, and that's starting to bring down our first gen numbers. But we're still over 60% first generation students coming to the institution. So we're the type of institution that has been working with first generation students a lot, and we have built at our institution the support systems that understand the constraints on their lives out working currently, parents, supporting families, but we've created an educational environment that allows them to have sort of a yes and approach. Yes, I have all these constraints on my life, and I can still go on and get an advanced credential at the university because this university understands who I am as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there too. And you had mentioned like we're an institution that is meeting students where they're at, and that's something that I find also a very exciting opportunity to be here. A lot of our students do come from the region, and then they stay in the region after they graduate. So when we provide our education and make sure that it's flexible, adaptable, recognizing that they have many demands on their in their everyday lives, that we're not just transforming their lives through education, but certainly we're impacting their families, and we're also transforming their communities because many of them stay here after they graduate. In addition, we've been very keen to keep an eye on changing demographics in the region. For the first time in many years, at least Lake County has a growing population. A lot of that population growth is driven by the Hispanic and Latino population in the area, which is one of the reasons we've been able to reach this Hispanic Serving Institution designation. A lot of people aren't quite sure what that means. Technically, it's a federal recognition that we have at least 25% of our student body that identifies as being Hispanic or Latino. Why it's important is that as we have achieved that designation, it's reflecting that we are able to continue to draw and attract students from our region. But we need to keep a close eye on the word serving, as the Chancellor mentioned. What sort of resources and support are we providing from students from different backgrounds? Some of the newer initiatives is thinking about like how we're doing our advising of students, and so we've overhauled some of our first year advising, which has been met with a lot of enthusiasm across campus, not just from students, but also from faculty and staff who are working with our students. In addition, as a sign of our impact, we were just recognized, it was Friday, by Angeles Investors for being an HSI impactful institution, and looking at the services we provide and the opportunities, thinking about like, in entrepreneurship and working with our local industry and serving our student populations.
And I'd like to add to that a little, Cale, because in the building we're in today and the building we're going to talk about that we're preparing to launch here shortly, one of the things that we've been focused on as a metropolitan serving institution is not just serving the students that are coming to the university, but serving the communities. I mentioned before, I can't wait to talk about our new degree programs, because what we've been looking at is not just randomly building degree programs, but building degree programs that are relevant to Northwest Indiana. And building exceptional programs that are good for Northwest Indiana. As we continue to do that, it's not mutually exclusive. It's not only good for Northwest Indiana, but the value of that is being seen out of state and internationally in these specific programs because we've tied it so closely to modern workforce or future workforce needs. And so we're attracting more students to our institution, even though we are a regional institution or metropolitan serving institution. We're attracting more and more students from out of state and internationally to come to the university because of the quality of degree programming we've put in place. This building and the new building we're going to launch is more about serving the community and creating opportunities for people in the community to work with the university, to leverage the assets of a public institution to take an idea from an idea phase all the way to potentially a commercialization phase. And so in this building in CMEC that we're in today, and again, the Roberts Lab, we're going to be still focused on community impact as well. And I think that the recognition we received last Friday from this investors group is a sign of what we're trying to do within Northwest Indiana to create opportunities for this the communities that we serve to utilize, to leverage the resources of a public institution and really be a value added to all of our communities.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole lot of good answers right there. So thank you very much for being able to expand very well to talk about the mission that we have to serve students, a little bit about our demographics. And one thing that I'll also add, about our first generation students is that we are recognized by the Center for First Generation Student Success as a First Scholars institution, and so that's really a testament to really just how strong that our resources and dedication are to achieving great outcomes or helping our students achieve great outcomes while they're here at Purdue Northwest. One other thing that I'd also like to pose for both of you as a question, when we're talking about our students and serving our communities, is there's also an idea about socioeconomics and socioeconomic mobility and what a high quality higher education experience provides for students and their families. Can you share a little bit more about that too?
Yeah, I'll certainly jump into that. I think one of the things that is part of the critical part of the mission of our institution is to create equity and socioeconomic mobility, meaning we're providing, again, it's going to come back to the relevance of the degree programs we're offering. We're providing meaningful higher education, everything from certificate to baccalaureate degrees. Our biggest growth has been in master's programming and all the way through doctoral programming right here in the communities we're serving. These are applied programs, which means they're relevant to the industry around us and result in socioeconomic mobility and generate creation of generational wealth through higher education. There are a lot of, even though it's been nationally questioned, we've kept our tuition prices very low. We're still an accessible institution to our communities. We have high value degrees. The value proposition of our degrees that we're offering is very high. And our students are finding jobs in these spaces in what I'm going to argue at some point. Some of the areas we enter are critically important to the state economy and of importance nationally. In particular, we look at the areas that the university is expanding its research enterprise. We're heavily focused in industrial decarbonization, something that is of national importance that will be discussed all the way through November. The impacts on climate change. Our university is integrally involved in helping industry operate more efficiently, reduce carbon emissions, yet still producing the highest quality products in the nation when we think about things like the steel industry or power generation or the hydrogen economy. We're also involved in the future of things like quantum computing. We're not focused on the research end like the major research institutions in the Midwest, but we'll be focused on that commercialization end. How does an entrepreneur have access to quantum fiber or quantum computing? And we're forming partnerships. These are not the jobs that exist today. These are the jobs that are going to exist 5 years or 10 years from now. And we're already starting to build programming around these, what will be transformational changes in telecommunications, banking, research, government interest, and we'll be producing graduates that have a direct experience working in this area and also working with the community to learn how we can commercialize some of these products to have high value to the communities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll also, I guess, echo in terms of the importance of institutions like ours, and again, provide a great opportunity for students. Since, again, many of those students do come from the area, we're able to serve and help meet the workforce demands of the area. And again, with looking at a lot of our student demographics, many of them are here, and they can come to the university because we are located in their backyard. So communities should benefit from having an institution in their backyard. And then again, a lot of the students stay here, so it is building that intergenerational wealth as well. So it's not just about transforming their lives again, it's also the impact that we're having on their families and their future generations and also the communities.
Yeah.
Kale, and I want to expand on that because we're not just offering degree programs. These are quality
That's right.
degree programs that are nationally recognized. When we look at programs that we're offering currently in cybersecurity, for example, we're a National Center for Excellence in Cybersecurity. Our nursing programs, which are of critical need here in probably across the entire country, certainly within Northwest Indiana, our nursing programs hold national rankings. When I look at our engineering program is ranked in one of the top 100 programs in the country in engineering. So we're not just doing things, but we're doing them well, and we really have a quality aspect to the institution with quality degree programs. we're emerging in what is critically needed here in Northwest Indiana in the mental health space. And we're building programs, again, all the way through a doctoral level that not only will provide a quality education and the best experience possible, they're meeting a critical need in Northwest Indiana, but also a critical need nationally.
Absolutely. So this gives a good jumping off point to talk about, so when students are on campus and we have our commitment to providing them a high quality education and a good student experience, I want to be able to ask both of you. So you've had the opportunity, and obviously now both of you are administrative roles, but you've also, of course, taught students before. So in your experience, you've been able to see students from years past and now to the present. What are the priorities that they have today, and how are we helping meet those needs? And aside from just the academic programs, and we can certainly expand on those, but how about also just some of the resources, like when they're physically here on campus, and some of what they can do, like during their downtime in classes, or how they're interacting with their professors or the staff members. So I leave that question to both of you.
So I think because I've been here 25 years and been in the classroom with our students, I started my career on our Westville campus. I spent 16 years there. A recurring theme is they want to know that they're investing in a valued education and something that is going to help them get a job at the end. What has changed at the university is the experience the students have while at the university. We know our incoming student body is very interested in a traditional campus experience with lots of activities, of vibrancy across campus. And one of our real focal areas has been to provide the services that are necessary to help students stay in college, to be successful on their educational journey, but also have a great experience where they meet with friends and can hang out together and do the things that college students do. Historically, we were almost exclusively a commuter campuses. That has changed a lot over the past 25 years that I've been at the institution. We have more clubs, organizations, I would call co-curricular or co-educational opportunities. In areas like engineering and technology, they're heavily involved. We build Formula Car on campus. We build Baja Racers. We participate in electric vehicle challenges. So not only having an educational experience, but having these great opportunities in the time between classes that engage them in again, in a meaningful way, not just an activity one does, but one that enhances their resume and makes them a more competitive when they go out and looking for jobs. And again, I know we're going to talk about it in a few minutes, but our athletics program, competing in the NCAA Division II in athletics, we have some amazing successes. Again, I think that is adding value to the overall education by providing additional opportunities as a university. I mentioned before, we're heavily involved in a campus revitalization, rejuvenation. And again, I'm going to invite people in this region to come out and look at the two campuses, the beauty of our campus. We have some of the most attractive campuses around. We're intentionally investing in the student experience. So when they come to campus, they have this amazing experience inside and outside of the classroom.
Yeah, and some of that is even renovating some of the spaces so that students have more hangout places, and you can have some of these creative collisions that students run into each other. It's very beautiful, very open, and it's meant to make it attractive for students when they're in between classes to have places to meet up with their friends and meet new ones is a big part of it. And one of the things I've heard the chancellor say, and I find it to be very appealing, is that our students do deserve to have the traditional college experiences, but they don't have to go away necessarily to do so. Although we're also very pleased we do attract students from across the country and internationally. But that's a sign of the intentionality that we're putting behind some of our programming. We're looking at ways to build up more opportunities for students to have internships, for example. So then a lot of our students are already working, but they may not be working in the area that they're desiring to go into as a career. So that's another place. And then we're trying to build up our support for more study away and study abroad programs so that students have the opportunity to see different parts of our country and also to be able to travel to other countries and experience different cultures domestically or internationally.
Absolutely.
Certainly in the form of infrastructure, as we look at our Westville campus, we have an amazing facility at our Westville campus where we were yesterday in the Dworkin Center. On our Hammond campus, the launch a couple of years ago of the NILS building, Nelson Bioscience building, where we house our nursing programs, our integrative human health programs, as well as our biology program, in what is one of the finest facilities for bioscience and allied health in Northwest Indiana and possibly beyond. And the idea, when that building was launched, to create visibility for invisible professions. So as you walk in that building, the first thing you'll notice is everything is glass walls everywhere. So students that are maybe considering one major have the opportunity to look in and watch nursing students practice nursing, to walk in and watch our science students actually in labs doing things, to watch graduate students who are working in research labs, all through the glass walls that are going on in the facility. That transition has happened across our campus as well. As we look into renovations, we are doing this past couple of years in the classroom office building, which we affectionately call around campus CLO, which has undergone amazing transformation over the last 2 years. And I think we have further transformations for those buildings future forward. The movement, renovation of these facilities and movement of programs is going to offer future opportunities for us to expand into other buildings as we have the opportunity to continue renovating those. And again, with the idea of providing the highest quality education in some of these programs. So we're looking intently. I'll look forward to announcing it later in the year. There are still some more steps we have to cross. But we're looking at launching a new digital communication studio on campus, which I think, again, will put Purdue Northwest at the front edge of providing the highest quality education possible and the best facilities possible.
Absolutely. Let's also talk about, and I want to say thank you to both of you for shouting out and mentioning some of the really great undergraduate opportunities that students are able to have, such as in engineering, computer science, cybersecurity, nursing, and more. But let's also briefly talk about what we have to look forward to in terms of our graduate programs, because there's been some really awesome growth in there too. So as both of you had touched on before, we are a doctoral granting institution. This academic year, the cohorts for the Master of Science in Psychology and the Doctor of Psychology are beginning, and our friends in elsewhere in the university are also going to be recruiting for a Master of Social Work program and cohort and a Master of Science in Applied Artificial Intelligence. So can you expand on some of those too?
Yeah, so a lot of these, and again, we were talking a little bit about listening to employers' needs and what the industry needs. These are applied programs, and so we're very excited to be able to provide this additional level of a post-baccalaureate opportunity for students in the region or outside to be able to continue their studies and get an additional degree, get additional credentials to help them move their work to the next level. In addition, if we think about areas in psychology and also social work, those programs are designed in mind with a lot of it being the needs of Northwest Indiana. Of course, a lot of these needs are of national importance, but of particular acute importance for Northwest Indiana. And then with respect to the MS in Applied Artificial Intelligence, we're expecting to have our new students entering as early as spring 2025, so that's very exciting. And that's also listening to what the needs are, where are the gaps that we, as an institution of higher education, can fill, and make sure that our students are graduating with the relevant education. There'll be jobs for them. And I also want to mention that we have several of our programs, including in engineering, that have what we call a 4+1 option, and that is within a 5-year period, students are able to get both their bachelor's degrees and a master's degree, which again helps us be able to turn students, I don't want to say turn students around, have the students come in and also graduate in a timely manner. And in the case of a 5-year period, many times they can graduate with a master's degree, again, to keep their options open and moving up in their career progression.
Absolutely.
And I would add to that, again, we've glossed over it. I think it's something we're used to talking about. But not only are we offering doctoral degrees, we're now approved by the HLC. We're recognized by the Higher Learning Commission as a doctoral granting institution. And we've built those doctoral degree programs, I think, in areas that are of critical need to Northwest Indiana. But again, I am as the quality of those degrees is recognized, we'll start attracting students from all over the place. But we started within one of the highest need areas. We were one of the first to launch a DNP, a Doctor of Nursing Practice. Nursing is a critical need again here, not only in Northwest Indiana, but across the country. And we have a full slate of degree programs for people that want to go into the field of nursing to have both nursing degrees and advanced practice degrees in those areas. The second move for us was to move into the doctoral technology program. Again, we are in a manufacturing part of the state, and we have degree programs in many of these fields, up to and including doctoral degrees in these areas that are of critical importance. The most recent one, I had the great opportunity to go meet our 2 new cohorts of graduate students in psychology. I had the great opportunity to be invited to go talk to the students that are launching the initial cohorts in the master's degree and doctoral degree, this ID program in clinical psychology. Again, we will form tight partnerships with the healthcare systems around this area. That will put us in a position to provide something other universities can't, and that is that direct relationship with the practitioners out in the community, coupling with medical professionals in other fields and having our students receive the best training possible because it's going to be so applied in nature.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about that word applied. So that's been recited a few times during our conversation. And so let's talk about, how would we define what that means, both in terms of the classroom experience, as well as some of the partnerships that are around in Northwest Indiana. So just looking as some examples, we were talking about psychology, NWI Impetus, VR Futures, certainly our Center for Innovation through Visualization and Simulation. Block Tech Hub was another development from over the summer. And we obviously have our whole host of research centers that we have on campus as well. So talk a little bit about what it means to be applied when students are having that experience.
Well, so I'll jump in on that one right away because I like using that term because of the type of programs. And I think that is a reflection of the type partnerships that we have with the businesses and industries around us. When we talk about basic research across the country, it is really talking about the generation of new knowledge and new technologies. Our campus is very applied in meaning, how do you best utilize the generation of new technologies? How do you incorporate them? How do you make them accessible to a community? How do you make them accessible to the business and industries around you? And then how do you improve them? And most of our success comes, for example, in the decarbonization effort. How do you help a company reduce their carbon emissions? And we are the type of institution that is heavily engaged in working with companies to say, you have this real problem that is meaningful to your business. You need a solution to it. And we're a type of institution of higher education that focuses on how do you help a company improve their processes? How do you help them reduce carbon emissions or secure their information in a more meaningful way? And so when I use the term applied, it is that relationship you form with a business or industry to take technologies that currently exist and make them work for a company or make them improve the efficiency of a company around us. And it comes from the history of our university has been to build tight relationships, to work on projects that are meaningful, directly meaningful to the companies around us and help them improve. So if you're a company that is interested in improving your processes, our university, you should come talk to us.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly jump in terms of the applied nature. It also gives students a lot of hands-on opportunities so that when they go out and get their, once they graduate and then they get their positions, they are already very comfortable in many cases with being able to move into those positions because they've been doing the work already, and so that gets back into some of our the work and intentionality we have with preparing the future workforce of Northwest Indiana.
Absolutely. And perhaps kind of closely tied with this, just to really emphasize how strong the research side is to the university, Purdue Northwest is a leader in sponsored research in the state of Indiana. Please tell us about that too.
Oh, Cale, this is my favorite topic to talk about. Once again, we have set a record for our campus and federally funded projects that are coming forth. And again, these are very meaningful projects. Our institution was awarded about $15.5 million in federal funding across the spectrum for both student support and the applied research that we're doing at the university, which places us in a position amongst certainly the leaders in the mid-sized public institutions in the state of Indiana in the form of research expenditures. I would say amongst the mid-sized publics, we're included in amongst the best of class in this area. And I think that comes from the real impact that one gets partnering with our university in these applied areas. We've emerged in spaces like I mentioned before, decarbonization as a statewide or national leader in industrial decarbonization. Again, cybersecurity and cyber defense are enormously valuable to the community. And again, in the healthcare space, healthcare and mental health spaces, we've been awarded big awards for things that our faculty are doing in these spaces. And I certainly don't want to be remiss. This comes from having the quality faculty at the institution that is really dedicated to addressing fundamental issues, but also, as the type of institution we are, really directly the ones in the classroom teaching the students are these exceptional practitioners and researchers in these areas, providing our students with the best experience possible. And quite frankly, most of our students are having an opportunity to continue to work on these types of projects that are federally funded, nationally important projects that results in great career outcomes at the end. And that is something that many larger institutions cannot boast, that a lot of their students are getting these amazing opportunities to directly work on these types of projects.
Yeah, and I would jump in and, when we think about it is a reflection of the recruitment of our faculty and the retention of our faculty. We want to make sure that when faculty are here that they are excited about working with students and excited about working with our industry partners as well. We have an excellent Center for Faculty Excellence that we're looking at providing additional support. I've often said that, many times we talk about student success, but for student success, we also need faculty success. And so how can we work with our new faculty and also our mid-career and senior faculty to help them better engage with our students and help them be successful in their own academic careers?
Absolutely. And just the last thing that I'll go ahead and add on to this about some accolades for the university. We are designated as an Innovation and Economic Prosperity University. And the really great thing about it is that we're the third in Indiana. We earned the designation as of last academic year. And the only other two institutions in the state that share it are the large institutions of Purdue West Lafayette and IU Bloomington. So there are a lot of really, really great and exciting things to be looking forward to just for where the trajectory of the institution is going in terms of applied research. And also looking forward to this academic year, Chancellor Holford, I know that this is also a big year in terms of strategic planning. And so different groups around campus as well as community members have been providing their input for looking ahead at the Excellence Evolving Strategic Plan. Would you like to share a little bit more about that too?
Certainly. We just launched this sort of at the end of the academic year, a few months after I started in my new role at the institution. We have a new administration at the university. We're looking forward to, we called it Excellence Evolving. We've been performing well across the institution already. It is time for us to think about the impact this institution could have in Northwest Indiana and beyond. We know we're good in areas like the educational areas. We're emerging as one of the larger research institutions in the state. I am really interested in what is the potential impact, and so we've really engaged in a broad discussion internally in the campus with our faculty, staff, other employees of the university to talk about how do we continue to enhance experiences that students have coming onto campus. But also, we've engaged our external stakeholders and say, what do you expect from the university in the future? And from this will emerge a new vision for what the university, the impact it could have in all of these particular areas. And I think the Excellence Evolving is a play on my background as a biologist. But we are an institution that has undergone a lot of fundamental change over the 25 years I've been here. We've talked about some of the accolades: a doctoral seeking institution, innovation and economic prosperity institution, changing demographics at the institution. I really want to see a new vision. Having said that, I think that I'm committed to the mission of our institution. And the mission of our institution is a real focus on providing the best educational opportunities and workforce development that are possible here in Northwest Indiana. So I've asked in all the meetings that I go talk in, we not lose sight of the mission. Why do we exist as an institution here in Northwest Indiana? But more importantly, how do we continue to leverage that to change, have a bigger vision for what the role the institution could continue to play here in Northwest Indiana?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's again an exciting time for me to have joined the institution. I'm very enamored with strategic planning because it is looking at how can we shape the direction of the university in the next 5 years, and how we can help the university reach its potential. And if you consider Purdue University Northwest went through unification, came into being in 2016. At that time, there's a lot of work that goes on. Just we need to make sure that the institution's moving forward, that we open the doors on time, and there wasn't the luxury of being able to sit back and say we can be strategic thinkers. As things were settling down from unification, then COVID came along. And so that was also about we need to make sure that we continue to provide a high quality, accessible education for our students. Despite the fact the whole world is turning upside down, everybody was affected by COVID. But now that the dust is settling from that, we have an opportunity to really sit back and reflect on what we can do at the institution. We have, for the first time, the luxury of being able to strategically think about what's happening. And then something I'm excited about is once the planning is firmly underway, then we get into the implementation. And so that's how do we put the plan into motion. And so I'm looking forward to leading a lot of the efforts and working with the deans on the implementation or overseeing the implementation of the plan.
Yeah. And while we still have a little bit of some time left, I would say I would be remiss if I didn't also shift the spotlight over to talk a little bit about our student athletes. So in this academic year, we have over 500. Think about that is incredible. Just talk about trajectories, how much that Pride Athletics has grown. There's been almost 9 consecutive years of a cumulative 3.0 or higher GPA among all our teams. And even just looking back at this most recent academic year, there were a number of fantastic individual and team championships. And we're also welcoming the first stunt team in Indiana for this academic year. So if you want to see some high-flying competitive cheerleading members of the Pride competing, I believe that's going to be in the spring. We'll be looking forward to that. So tell us about what you're looking forward to in this year for student athletes.
Well, I gave the prelude to this a little earlier. This is about the student experience as part of a contemporary university that has these opportunities. And you're right, Cale, a decade ago we probably had around 100 athletes on campus. This year it's over 500 and is likely to continue to grow. The movement into NCAA Division II athletics was a great move by our university. We're competitive in the GLIAC, as you mentioned before. I think we won 11 championships this last year, including our first national berths, our appearance in national tournaments at the Division II level. In both soccer and then again in the ACHA Division I in ice hockey, an appearance at the national tournament, and we were successful when we went there. I think the Pride Athletics has continued to grow and respond. We have one National Player of the Year. Sam Bordage from the hockey team was recognized by the ACHA as the Player of the Year from our Purdue Northwest teams. And then we had 2 All-Americans this year, Hugo Lorenzo on our men's soccer team and Deshaun Dorsey on our track and field team that were recognized as All-Americans. And I think as the leader of the institution, as the chancellor, what I'm most proud of is the academic performance of our athletes who are retained at a very high rate. They graduate on time, so they have these great experiences playing at a high level in the GLIAC, which is one of the best conferences in the Division II in the country, a very competitive conference. Our teams are performing well. We're having players recognized as National Player of the Year, as All-American Players of the Year. Yet they're performing exceptionally well in the classroom. And we could probably boast about individual teams. I think the women's volleyball team posted the top grade point average of a 3.77 on a 4.0 scale cumulatively. So our coaches are doing an exceptional job of recruiting academic-oriented students that are having amazing opportunities on the field as well.
Absolutely. So, and again, while we're ticking down just a little bit on time here, the way that I like to direct our conversation as we close on out, talking about our identity and our brand, Power Onward. So, at the institution, we live by that brand. And for Power Onward, it can be interpreted and mean a number of different things for different people based on their life experiences and their circumstances. But overall, it's about finding your inner grit and your inner strength, overcoming challenges, finding out what's possible, and achieving the outcomes that you set out to do. So the fun way that I want to be able to help close out our conversation is to ask both of you, how do you power onward? Dr. Moore, I'm going to tee it up to you first.
Okay, no, that's an excellent question and a fun way to end our conversation. In terms of just when I think about my role, and again, coming in new as Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, what helps me power onward is just knowing the impact that we're having for our students. A lot of we have such excellent students, and we're able to provide, and we want to provide them with an excellent educational experience that includes both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. That helps keep me going in terms of knowing the work that we're doing is important for our students. And then, of course, as I've said a couple of times, it's also important for their families and our communities as well. So that's something that gets me up in the morning, like what can we do to help improve their lives, help improve their experiences, making sure that the education they're receiving and the extracurricular activities are meaningful to them, and that in terms of the education, we want to make sure that it is accessible, flexible, so that we can meet the students where they're at.
Excellent.
So, Kale, we should have planned this because I would have answered the same way as the provost, because I do think it comes down to what is the impact the university can continue to have, and how do we continue through renovation of our facilities, building of new programs, that we continue to have a big impact on the lives of our student body, providing them with sort of that complete college experience right here in Northwest Indiana with all the co-curricular, co-educational things that are possible. How do we continue expanding our academic programs in a meaningful way that result in strong credentials that translate into a workforce? And so I think it comes down to impact and the necessity for us to continue positioning and repositioning, adapting to changes that are going on around us, and drive the quality of the education we can provide, the quality of experience we can provide to the highest level possible. And again, I think as we have been doing that, you are seeing the results of that in the enrollments. We have great enrollment outcomes in an environment that's an exceptionally challenging environment in higher ed right now. But again, looking forward to how do we continue improving the quality of the experience, the quality of the programming, the quality of the research on our campus, sort of to position the university to get the most out of those aspects. And that's what gets me up in the morning and keeps me charged talking about the institution. And so I think we're both talking about what is the potential impact a university like ours can continue to have. And I would say not only are we meeting most expectations, we're exceeding most expectations in this area. And one of my goals is to keep us at the forefront of a lot of the changes that are going on around us.
Absolutely. Well, and I appreciate those answers. Thank you so very much for sharing a little bit more there about what it helps you or what it is, how you power onward. And I think I would just say for myself, I would certainly echo that. I think that when we get up in the morning, we know that there is important work to be done each and every day at the institution. And I like to think that and remember that between the students, the faculty, and the staff, the whole PNW community, when we work together, I think there's a lot of people that are counting on each other. And so I think what it just makes it, our community is just so special with how we really rally together to help students, help each other, help our community power onward into the future. And I'm proud to be able to work with both of you as well as the faculty and staff. And I look forward to all that's come for our students in this academic year. So with that, thank you both very much for joining the PNW Today program, and for anybody that listened along today. Again, it's been August 22nd, 2024, and if you want to look ahead on your calendars, the next show will be during the first week of September, just after Labor Day. We get to have Rick Costello in the studio, so he's going to be able to talk more about not only athletics, but also be previewing Homecoming Sports Fest. So, and again, any more information about PNW, just find us online, pnw.edu, or if you want to find the application, pnw.edu/admissions. All right, my name is Cale Wilk, signing off. Thank you for joining the PNW Today program, and we'll see you next time.